On her 13th birthday, the door opens. A eunuch bows. The king summons his daughter. Persepolis holds its breath. Amydas doesn't. Her hands shake. Her mother watches the floor, purple at her shoulders, oil on her wrists, coal at her eyes, a mask for sacrifice. Listen, her mother whispers. You will show gratitude. You will survive. The sentence should end with comfort. It ends with a knock. SFX. A door, quietly. Not ominous, inevitable. The eunuch doesn't wait. The corridor is long. Every torch is a witness that won't speak. Amydas counts the steps. She stops counting. The door closes behind her. We don't follow. We never will. But the silence that comes back out with her will last the rest of her life. Decades from now, in a town no mapmaker bothers to name, an old woman wakes in the dark as if a door just opened. She sits up. She listens. No footfalls. No key. Still, her hands remember how to be still. To understand why, we have to understand him, and the world that taught him he could do it. Xerxes, king of kings, son of Darius, grandson of Cyrus by his mother, Atossa, heir to an empire from the Aegean to the Indus. He doesn't inherit alone, he wins. Brothers disappear into soft phrases: illness, accident, the will of the gods. The court learns the new language quickly. May I be protected by your shadow. May my life be yours. He prepares a war to erase Marathon, to finish his father's sentence. He orders bridges thrown across the Hellespont. A storm tears them down. So he punishes the sea. Whips crack over water the way men crack when kings need stories to be true. Then they rebuild. The army moves. So many feet, the earth forgets its own rhythm. Outside, he is making history. Inside, he is practicing something older than every story men tell about glory. In the Persian court, the king is more than a man. He is the axis. Royal blood is treated as sacred. Keep it pure, keep it close. Greek writers will allege incest within the royal circle, sibling marriages. Whispers reach farther. Persian records do not confess. Priests argue doctrine. Modern historians argue the sources. But inside sealed rooms, one rule decides everything. The king's will is the only scripture that matters. So when daughters come of age, a ritual begins. Bath, oil, silence, a summons. Some are called once. Some are called until he grows bored or finds a use. None are asked. Names vanish from ledgers and reappear as gifts. A princess becomes a treaty, a payment, a promise. Escape is a door that turns out to be a corridor. Amydas learns this fast. She learns which sandals squeak on polished stone and which don't. She learns to breathe without showing it. She learns that gratitude, like coal, is something you paint on your face. Now pull the camera back. An empire moving like a single animal. A canal cut through Athos so ships won't die on the Cape. Roads with stations where fresh horses wait. Couriers passing messages faster than storms. The system works. It works because it is simple. Obey. Ask the court about proskynesis. The ritual bow so deep your forehead tastes dust. To Greeks, it looks like worship. To Persians, it is order, the way gravity is order. In a place like this, words bend the way backs do. Daughter becomes property. Marriage becomes policy. Love becomes timing. Listen to how women talk in rooms where men don't listen. Short answers, flat faces, hands that never shake in public. Mothers choose strategies. One tries to prepare. When the door opens, leave your body behind and go someplace quiet. Another tries to save innocence by saying nothing. Silence feels like kindness until it isn't. The girls watch older sisters vanish and return with eyes that don't match their faces. No one says what happened. Everyone knows. The year the army crosses into Greece, another order goes out. Daughters become treaties. One to a satrap older than her grandfather. One to a cavalry lord with 20 scars and no sons. Their dowries are land, horses, and the rumour of royal blood. Men bow and smile like men receiving swords. For the girls, the wedding feels like air after drowning. Then they breathe it and realize it is smoke. Because a gift is still property, only with a different owner. Now listen to a name the Greeks preserved, Artainte. Herodotus tells this story. He loves detail. He loves scandal. Believe, doubt, or hold both in your hands. After the fleet breaks at Salamis, after Athens burns and the fire eats names off the city's own stones, Xerxes turns homeward, leaving Mardonius to finish the war. At Sardis, the king sees a woman, the wife of Mesistes, his brother. He wants her. She refuses him. He marries his own son to her daughter, Artainte, and takes what he wanted by another door. The affair lives in shadow, until it doesn't. A gift gives it away. A robe woven by the queen herself, a mistress, heavy with meaning. Artainte wears it. The queen recognizes her own work on the wrong body. On her birthday, when the king must grant her wish, a mistress chooses not the girl, not the king's son, not the king. She chooses Mesistes' wife. Guards take her from the table. She returns broken. The Greek account lists the injuries like a curse. We will not. Mesistes runs for Bactria to raise a revolt. He doesn't make it. That is how power protects itself. It wounds the nearest woman and calls it order. Where is Artainte after that? Nowhere a historian can point to. Where is Amydus? Everywhere Artainte isn't. She is a composite shadow cast by the testimonies of enemies and the palace's refusal to speak. A girl raised to be valuable. A girl told that value means availability. A girl who learns to build rooms inside herself no one can enter. Now return to the war, not because battles redeem anything inside the palace, but because they rhyme. Thermopylae, a mountain pass, a few days where men decide a story they want told forever. Then a flank path. Then the story ends the way most stories end, with numbers. Salamis, wood against wood, oars against current. A narrow strait where a big fleet cannot move like a big fleet. Xerxes watches from a throne on a hill, the way a god would if gods needed hills. Ships burn, orders snap. He leaves. Fans shade his face from a sun that does not care. Greece survives. Persia remains vast. Inside the women's quarters, none of this changes the corridor, because power is not loud. It is repetitive, a key turning, the same knock, the same walk, the same silence after. Years pass. Summons stop. The danger changes shape. Now Amydus is valuable for what she can produce and who she can bind to the throne. A marriage. Another city. New rules meant to look like freedom. She plays the part. She hosts. She smiles like a woman who learned as a child that survival is applause without sound. Her husband counts her value in sons, in alliances, in how quickly doors open when he names her father. Sometimes a messenger arrives at night and she feels her body step backward in time. She wakes before he knocks. She breathes. He brings news, not orders. Still, her hands know exactly where to go to hide the tremble. Now step into a room we almost never see. A court scholar writes an inscription. The words curve like reeds in wind. He lists victories. He lists gifts to the gods. He lists the great king's titles until titles run out of air. He doesn't list daughters. He doesn't list the rooms where history runs without ink. He never will. What does the palace say when anyone asks about such things? It says nothing. What do Greek writers say? Everything. Too much sometimes with precision that feels like a knife. Which to believe? This is where mature minds hold two truths. 1. Herodotus writes for an audience that enjoys stories of Eastern decadence. He has incentives to make monsters. 2. Power behind closed doors becomes what no one is allowed to contradict. In such places, the family is the first province conquered. The truth breathes somewhere between. We are not making charges in a court. We are listening to echoes in halls built for whispers. We are telling you how a system feels from the inside. The most dangerous thing about absolute power is not the cruelty of a single man. It is the teaching. that cruelty is normal when it serves order. A mistress may or may not have offered human lives to dark gods. Sources say she did. Sources also lied about enemies to make victories cleaner. What survives past certainty is the pattern. The nearest woman pays for the king's choices. The nearest girl pays for the king's hunger. The nearest family learns to call it fate. Now see Amidas late in life. A small house, a small lamp. Her husband is long gone. A son writes from a frontier that was supposed to be safe. A daughter sends spices she cannot afford. Amidas tends a plant that refuses to bloom in this climate. She waters it anyway. Some nights she wakes in the dark. She hears the door from 40 years ago. She names the sounds each house makes to prove they are different from palace sounds. A neighbor's baby breathes in the next room. A dog turns in its sleep. Wind moves through a crack she should fix. Her body believes none of it. In the morning, a girl from the lane brings bread. Amidas breaks it in half and tells a story that is not hers to tell. It is the fairy tale version. The corridor becomes a forest. The eunuch becomes a wolf. The father becomes a tower with no door. She stops before the door opens. The girl laughs and runs home. Later, Amidas stands in her doorway and watches dust drift in a beam of light. A luxury. She can stand in a doorway as long as she likes. No summons. No watchful eyes. Freedom sometimes looks like nothing happening. She has learned to love nothing. What about Xerxes? His name lives on stone. Columns remember his weight. Reliefs remember the way he wanted to be seen. Tall, calm, the world arranged like attendants around him. He dies. Another man sits where he sat. Servants are replaced. Rituals are not. The corridor remains. The door remains. The knock remains. And the language survives long after speakers are dust. May I be protected by your shadow. May my life be yours. There is a place in every era where a man is told he is more than a man. It is always a dangerous place to stand near. Does any of this change because a historian tells you a date? 480, 479, 465. A calendar doesn't heal a wound. It just wraps it in numbers. Walk the ruins of Persepolis today. Stone stays. The light is merciless and kind at the same time. You will see processions carved in relief. Delegations bringing tribute to a king who needs nothing except the sight of men kneeling. You will not see women. You will not see corridors. You will not see the rooms where silence was taught like grammar. So we remember them by other means, by a name that isn't a name, by a door we never open, by a promise we keep to the living, that we will say aloud the simple, unfashionable truth. A system can train a man to do anything. A system can train a nation to look away. In such a place, the family is the first province conquered, and the king is the last man anyone is allowed to call a father. Amidas wakes in the dark again. There is no knock. Her hands are steady now. But somewhere, in a city built by kings and maintained by silence, a door opens and a corridor fills with light. We don't follow. We never will.